Let's put our hands together for our next speaker, Pedro Montoya Santos, Chief Compliance and Risk Officer at Ferrovial. Pedro began his professional career at Procter & Gamble before moving to CASA, actively contributing to the creation of European Aerospace Group EADS. In 2008, he was appointed Chief Compliance Officer at EADS and subsequently Airbus. After his departure from the company in 2018, Pedro accepted an offer by IFM investors to become independent Chief Compliance and Risk Officer at Aleatica before joining Ferrovial in 2019. In addition to his current position, he's a professor adjunct of compliance at IE Law School, writes about and teaches on compliance topics, and frequently speaks at international compliance conferences. According to Pedro, compliance is not just doing things right, and it certainly is not just regular checks of internal controls effectiveness. Society requires corporations to give assurance on their integrity and their holistic management system to prevent misconduct and protect sustainable competitiveness.
Thank you for having me here. I think, after the excellent presentations that preceded me, I'm going to be very modest in what I can contribute to this day, and is really knowledge sharing. So all I will say is only about sharing my experience and how I see the challenges for compliance professionals and executives in general in dealing with the supply chain and the new requirements, both legal and society requirements. And actually, I think we're living exciting times. We are living times where new paradigms are taking place from one day to the next. And if we look back, how many companies that are today interested by this topic would have thought of putting in place a compliance program and hiring a compliance professional? How many of the companies interested today, maybe 10 years ago, would have been interested in putting in place an effective whistleblowing system to detect irregularities? Well, now it is even the law in many, if not all, European countries following the directive of the European Union. And certainly it all has become a business practice. So I think it's time to take a stock and look at new challenges. I think it's time to think beyond the advantages of having an effective compliance program in terms of reducing the exposure for the company or for the executives in case there are criminal proceedings or other legal proceedings against the company. Because things will happen and misconduct will happen. And therefore, beyond how we can protect ourselves, let's see how companies can take really a business advantage of doing the right thing and checking that things are doing right. Therefore, perhaps in the few minutes I intend to speak today, I will ask more questions than I will present answers to those questions. But, sometimes often questions are more important than answers. So if now the next challenge for these companies, and what I pretend to say is that those companies should be pushing for these new challenges to be there and to become the level playing field, And if therefore we have to look more carefully into all our supply chain, not only first tier, but perhaps second tier, not only those business partners, but also very remote vendors and suppliers. Then question number one, what about the legal liability, right? That's why I said new paradigms. In the law school, we used to say, well, we are separate legal entities. And if you don't want to be tomorrow responsible for something that happened beyond the boundaries of your company, then don't interfere. And that was true for the mother company and the subsidiaries. It was even more true between a company or a group of companies and their suppliers and subcontractors. Well, that is the first question. However, the society has made very clear that this is exactly what they expect, that we go further. And if we look into the preparatory papers for the Corporate Sustainability Directive, the European Parliament very clearly stated that self-regulation wasn't enough, didn't work to prevent human rights abuses and to prevent behaviors that were not adequate to our values. And those things happen in the value chain for products that were to be marketed by European companies in European market. Well, is there a legal way, therefore, to address those requirements that the legislator understood and now are the new legal framework for companies? My modest hint, if not an answer, is yes, there is a way, and it can be addressed by contracts. We have business relationship with our suppliers because we've got contractual arrangements with them. There are limits, of course, but there is freedom and room for negotiation in those contracts to allow the prime contractor to check what their suppliers and subcontractors are doing in producing goods or services for our companies. And this is happening already. We've got in those contracts a number of requirements, quality requirements, and compliance requirements as well. So it is possible. However, and this perhaps number two, how far should we go? And again, I don't know. Few hints. Be careful with over-promising to our investors, to our regulators, to our customers and employees, what we are doing in our supply chain. I think that's called greenwashing in the ESG community. And there are a number of perhaps examples on where we should be careful with greenwashing or over-promising. One of them is audit rights. So one thing is to tell them you must perform your duties according to certain standards, like respecting the human rights or otherwise. Different thing is to say, then I will go and check if you are doing what I want you to do. This audit right is okay, and is possible, and is already existing in many contracts. If then later you never audit any supplier and something goes wrong, guess what? It's likely that people will say you were only putting in place a cosmetic environment in your contracts, but you were not really interested in the business practices and the business conduct in your supply chain, right? So audit right may be a good idea, but then use your rights reasonably. It doesn't mean you have to go and see each and every supplier, but do something. maybe the few last points really from my side, which in a nutshell is like a word of wisdom. Uh, let's try to walk before we run, okay? And therefore, if it looks a big effort to control the supply chain, let's go step by step, right? Number one, let's focus on the highest risk suppliers, and let's conduct a deeper due diligence on them compared to the other suppliers. That's very much a common sense thing to do. Number two, if you want your suppliers to do something, let them know. So you can easily produce a supplier's code, make it public, have it in your web page, so every supplier will know that if they want to offer their goods or services to you, you are expecting them to conduct in a certain way. Right? You can then rather easily have them sign the supplier's code because they knew in the first place that that was what you intended to do. Number three, and I'm about to finish, it's not going to be a long list of advice. Benchmarking. This is precisely what perhaps we are doing today. Let's look and hear what others are doing, right? And I think our suppliers will also accept more easily to refrain from doing some things and to adapt their business practices to our standards if this is something that other corporations are doing as well. Okay, so benchmarking is useful for a number of things, including assurance to your own board of directors and to your own executive team that everything that you are doing and requiring is reasonable and is something that is expected. There is guidance out there, and there will be more, but also simply by sharing experience and knowledge with other colleagues and other companies is a pretty easy way to um, uh, understand and and implement actions that make real sense. And my very last point is that I think companies, yes, we've got responsibilities, and I think you guys said a minute ago is going to be good for business. Okay, if we take responsibility, and then the market will perceive that we're responsible contractors, that's going to be positive for business, going to help our competitiveness. Therefore, embed all these business practices and all these compliance requirements into your day to day. This should not be just an isolated message once a year for training or otherwise. It has to be embedded in business practice. And one way to check if it is to measure effectiveness. There are a number of indicators. We don't have time today, but there are indicators. And if the indicators are not available, you can think about your own indicators that are perhaps more suitable to your own circumstances. And therefore, if we endeavor to be effective and we check the level of effectiveness, this will be appreciated as the best way. That's been true for compliance in general, or the whistleblowing system in particular. This is true and will become true for the new requirements on supply chain. Sooner rather than later, companies will be uh, uh, publishing how they measure effectiveness. We can only improve what we measure. And by the way, we can only measure what we compare. So benchmarking and effectiveness tests are quite often very close one to another. And I can only encourage each and every of you to think about it and join probably other companies that are in this collective effort of making a better world by having cleaner and more sustainable business. This is probably the key message beyond all these requirements, and this is where perhaps the best companies can help, and all other companies we should be listening, paying attention, and contributing from our own experience. That's all I wanted to share. And thank you once again for having me here and for putting together this very exciting session.